Yeah, right there. You're a good girl.
Hi guys, welcome back to Nikki Faces Reality. We're here to discuss another spin-off of the 90 Day Fiancé universe, Love in Paradise. Or should we call it Love in a Hopeless Place, because these couples, y'all are my internet friends. We can be honest with each other. I have been avoiding the show like the plague. Every clip that I've seen of it has made me gag a little bit. I mean, it definitely delivers on the mess. I mean, people don't really watch this show for the love stories. I mean, after all, this was the show that gave us Danielle and Johan and many other train wrecks. So there's that. The success rate is very low, but still, y'all have asked for it. And so I'm really excited to unpack the last 3 episodes and just give you my opinions on what I think about these 4 couples. So yeah, before we get into it, as always, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Let's start with the couple that I am honestly dreading. So let's just knock them out first. Kyle, I'm gonna read Kyle, 32 from Los Angeles, and ANIKA, 39 from Malta. I wish that I could tell you that when I started watching these episodes for myself that I went into it with an unbiased opinion. I can't lie to you. I've watched some of my favorite creators' recaps and I've just been like, oh, like just based off of the thumbnails, I've seen everything that I needed to see. But I owe you guys my opinion. So we meet ANIKA first. ANIKA is in marketing. She moved to Malta during the pandemic. It was only supposed to be for a few months in this beautiful place during a scary time, but she lands a job and she decides to stay there, okay? She was previously married and has been divorced for about 4 years and is raising this beautiful son. He looks like a little cherub. I think that's what you call the little angel babies. That's exactly what he looks like. But she's, a single mom killing it in Malta. She's looking at her life and she's like, I want a second baby. And so she's like, my biological clock is ticking. She scours the internet for a sperm donor, and there she meets Kyle. She manifested the baby thing a little too hard because 7 months ago, she starts online dating this guy named Kyle. And Kyle is an accountant, but what he dedicates most of his life to, for free, is sperm donation. So he says that being an accountant allows him to be a nomad, and so he just travels around spreading his seed. And you guys, this is my opinion. Kyle is one of the most disturbing people that I've seen in this franchise, and that's saying a lot. So we see him, and as he's inhaling like 30 different vitamins, he tells us that his hobby is getting women pregnant.
My hobby is sperm donation. And most of my globetrotting has been helping single women and lesbian couples grow their families.
And there have been many reports about the shadiness of his practice. And he just watching him joyfully share that he has like 71 babies and 9 pending, I'm just like, I couldn't help but think about that episode on Law & Order SVU. It's starring John Stamos, that guy that like abuses reproductive rights. I think if I find it, I'll enter the clip. But that's all I could think about. But yeah, I mean, automatically hearing it's unsettling. He doesn't do this, with a clinic. He doesn't have like a legal base. It's all just this man putting his services on the internet. And the way it happens, it's even like, I just can't believe that this is being publicized on television. I mean, I've heard of people doing things on like the turkey baster, but he offers the natural way as well that he believes brings in more results. Yeah, he sleeps with these people.
Women can choose how they receive my donation. For some women, I do artificial insemination where I just masturbate into a cup and they use a syringe to inject it inside a vagina. But I also have the natural way, which has a higher success rate where we just have sex.
And again, there are institutions that focus on insemination, right? And yes, they may be more expensive. Yes, they may have, a process to go through, but there are safety measures set in place. And he didn't care to mention any of it, and I think that's super irresponsible. So that leads me to believe that there are no safety measures. Like, we didn't hear him speak about having any blood tests that he presents these candidates. Nothing of the sort. Just this like ego boost of him spreading his seed. Statistically, LGBTQ couples experience a lot of discrimination and a lot more hardships in trying to conceive and adopt. And I can understand the desperation, right, of wanting to start a family and continuing to face roadblocks. But it's hard not to see this as someone that is full throttle preying on vulnerable people, you know? And so he says that it's hard to date people because they don't accept his lifestyle. And so when he met Annie, she was actually going to be a potential client. Okay? And in their conversation, they found out that, they have more stuff in common and they just had this connection, and then they ended up dating. So he's going into this being like, well, she met me in this way, so finally someone that accepts what I do and I get love. Because all I was thinking about that was, okay, so how many other romantic relationships has he had with clients or potential clients? Shady. And I'm gonna tell you right now, ANIKA's not gonna be down with this. I'm like, they are already doomed. I feel it in my bones. When these two finally meet, the best way to describe it is my skin crawling. ANIKA is, so joyful. She's so excited to see him. She's giggling like a schoolgirl. And then there's him. The minute he hugs her, the ick begins in me because he starts like sniffing her, keeps like referring to her as sexy, but not in a way that makes you feel like, wow, like I'm desired. It's more like you're an object. There's no words of love or adoration or excited to be here. It's more like, you're a piece of meat kind of vibe. That's just what I'm getting, okay? And so immediately he's like, oh, well, I have to give you rules because I'm so turned on looking at you, and we have to take it slow.
You're trying to get me in the mood already on the first day. We gotta take it slow.
Oh my god,
You gotta wait 2 or 3 days for a kiss. And then everything else, you have to wait more. You need to earn my lovin'.
And I could feel any bit of romance just stripped from the atmosphere.
Annie can earn or lose points by doing good and bad things. Like, for instance, smoking a cigarette, that's 1 point gone. Drinking wine, she loses 1 point. Eating healthy, that gets her points. Smelling good, that gets her points, because she smells good. 3 points, she gets a kiss. With 5 points, she gets a tongue kiss. And with 10 points, she gets full-on sex.
It's just so funny, because men like this, people like this, don't have a shortage of audacity. Okay, because you would think that a guy that has a point system grading his partner would have the consideration, the tact to shower before meeting for evening events. Not Kyle. She drops him off at his Airbnb. He does some weird workouts, grunting. Like, everything that he does is overly sexual not in a fun way. And then with the same clothing that he flew in, no shower, no freshen up, no change of clothes, nothing, he shows up to a fancy dinner. So he shows up with his crusty, musty clothes, and I'm just like, is it one of her rules to always smell good? Shouldn't that apply to you? Because I know you don't smell good. I know it. And she's obviously disappointed. She's like, are you serious? Are you serious right now? Like, you didn't care to impress me? And I'm looking at ANIKA and I'm like, why are you sitting through this? Why are you gonna let this man sit there and mansplain to you how your views on dress codes are antiquated. And then he goes on to talk nonsense about how Americans don't dress up and how this is like old fashioned. And this is so embarrassing. Also false.
I know Europeans are all about this etiquette, but Americans, we don't do that. Because they have etiquette school in France, I believe, but we don't really do that in America. I have a French baby mama, so I know.
He doesn't care to impress her because he doesn't feel like he needs to. And she's looking at him and she's like, what we spoke about and how you're presenting yourself is not what I thought. And I'm like, girl, yeah, you don't know him at all. It's about to get weirder. Yeah, the whole vibe of doing things in an over sexual way and it's like not sexy continues. Because every time she does something that he approves of, in the middle of dinner, he's like, good girl. And it's not in like a hot book talky way. And he nearly had an O, you know what an O is, while she was scratching his back. And I'm like, cut the cameras. What is happening here?
You know how I love my back scratches. And that's a requirement.
This one.
Lower, a little bit lower. Yeah, right there. You're a good girl.
Oh my god.
Oh, God.
You like that?
Oh.
And the way he was eating his food, he was slurping up a storm. He was like inhaling it. At one point, he was eating so fast, he was like holding his neck. I was just like, are we getting punked? We have to be getting punked, right? And then when they say their goodbyes, he again is like sniffing her, clinging to her hands. And he's like, oh, you're so sexy. Are you going to be sexy for me tomorrow? Wear a ponytail. I like ponytails. Excuse me? You haven't even washed your behind. I was going to say something else, but you haven't taken care of yourself. You are going to be lucky if she shows up in a garbage bag. So in the latest episode 3, ANIKA is trying to be a trooper and bless her heart. Maybe she's doing it for the camera. She's holding on a little longer. But she's like, listen, I don't want to waste all these months that we've spent online dating. So I want to see if, there's some improvement. And so she sets up this date to sightsee the different islands of Malta. Before they do that, they meet up at a cafe. And immediately he shows up and he's like, what are you drinking? What kind of coffee? Oh, did you put sugar? And she's like, no. And he's like, okay, well, I don't like coffee. And then he goes on to explain why he doesn't like coffee. Again, no one asked him. And so it's one thing for you to lead a strict lifestyle. That is your choice, your prerogative. But I start having a problem with it when you make it someone else's problem. You don't get to have a say in what people consume or not, or whether or not you like what they consume. Like, no one asked you. And it starts with the little things. This controlling behavior, I immediately see it as a red flag. The minute someone tries to micromanage me that way in a relationship, I'm like, it won't be long before they're telling you that you can't see your friends or you can't see your family. That it just, I don't take small things like this lightly, and I'm a little disappointed that Malta, what's her name? Not Malta, ANIKA can't like register that. And it just worries me when people like this are susceptible. I mean, obviously everyone is susceptible to abuse. No one is immune. But I get extra worrisome when it's with people with kids, because I'm like, you have to be extra on guard because you have to protect someone else too. I'm rambling, but immediately no. And so I'm also looking at ANIKA sideways, and I'm looking at her like, you're a little twisted too, because she says that she knows she's not okay with his sperm donations. She knows that that's not something that she wants to move forward with. However, she gets bored easily with guys, and Kyle's strangeness will keep things interesting. And I'm like, ANIKA, there has to be better out there. This can't be the only option. And so she takes him sightseeing, and immediately he's like, let me hold your hands because I'm such a gentleman. Very performative. Because would a gentleman grab his crotch every 2 seconds? Would he? I don't think so. And ANIKA, after a while, is like, why do you keep doing that?
A long time ago, I went to the,
What you're doing always with your...
my balls, adjusting my,
Why you always touch them?
because sitting down too much kills your sperm. So I try to adjust them so they're not, like, get overheated.
And so he's constantly just like lifting his balls, like rearranging them. And that's also why he wears shorts, to breathe, to let it breathe, to keep it cool. And he shares, which we didn't need to know, that he also doesn't wear briefs. So he's just free balling with shorts. I wish that we didn't know that, but we do. This man is a menace to society, okay? So they finally get this moment alone, and ANIKA tells us that, she expected him to stop donating sperm, at least in the sexual way, after they said their I love yous. That is a commitment to her, and he recently went to Australia, and she's been afraid to ask him. She didn't want to shake the table, but now that they have this moment alone, she's like, I need to know what happened. And so she asks him, like, did you have sex with someone in Australia? And he's like, I don't remember what I did. And he's clearly nervous. And she asks him again, and he's like, I don't remember. I don't know what I did. I don't remember what I don't remember. Sir, he's playing in her face, and she's letting him, because that is an answer to me. Him avoiding it at all costs is the answer, but she's like, I need to know. I need to hear it. So eventually he does come clean after stalling for way too long. And he says, but it's not like sex, like emotional. It's like a professional, like a doctor. And no, you're not a doctor. And ANIKA is clearly pissed. She's like, I am not okay with this. His argument is that she knew who he was when she messaged him, right? And I hate to agree. But it's true. You shouldn't, like, when you meet someone, if you can't accept them the way they are without alterations, then don't waste your time. You can't commit to someone off the potential that you have in your mind, because that's a make-believe person. You have to accept people at face value. And at face value, he's a creep. And there's no way to remix that, ANIKA. So, yeah, that's going to be the big conflict with them this season. And that's enough of that. Let's move on to the next couple. The next couple is SHAWN and ALLIYA. And SHAWN is 61 from New York, and ALLIYA is 25 from Brazil. So we meet the bi-coastal bisexual king that is SHAWN. He's a celebrity stylist, and he met ALLIYA online. This is a huge age difference. The only thing that I'm like, is that he met ALLIYA when she was already in her 20s, but it's a reach. It's still too big of an age gap in my opinion. She lives in Brazil, and they've been together for some time, but when they met, ALLIYA was Douglas. So a year and a half into their relationship, ALLIYA had a revelation, and the way that it happened made me really emotional. So although SHAWN is bisexual, he fell in love with Douglas. And this is, a new step in their relationship. This is going to be the first visit where SHAWN is going to be with ALLIYA full time. This isn't just, a fun night that she dresses up as a girl. She is a girl. SHAWN's big thing is that he fell in love with the qualities that Douglas had, and that ALLIYA, he perceived it to be as a persona because she was so different from Douglas. But now he's trying to reconcile with his feelings with the fact that ALLIYA is here to stay full time. So he's trying to be supportive, but he describes the whole experience as feeling like he's being left behind and that he's trying to catch up. And so again, he encouraged ALLIYA to have fun with hair and makeup, and he thought that it would be just a fun persona, but now it's been 8 months, and he's realizing that this is bigger than I imagined. And so he's trying really hard to get with it, but it's hard. And like my first impression of them was I really hope that they make it. I hope that they can evolve together and grow in their love. But I can definitely see that it's not going to be a smooth journey. So, in this visit to Brazil, he's hoping to reconcile those feelings that he has because he doesn't want to lose ALLIYA forever. But he also is hoping that some of those qualities that he fell in love with are still there. But the tension when they get to Brazil is palpable because it's like this big elephant in the room, you know? And so the biggest thing is that SHAWN keeps referring to their partner as Douglas, and Douglas is no more. And it's bordering the line of disrespectful. Like there's a grace period that's allowed, and of course it's up to ALLIYA to decide. But it's a little uncomfortable. And so when we finally meet ALLIYA, who's beautiful, she confirms. In her words, she confirms that she's trans. Douglas is no more. She isn't cross-dressing. This isn't drag. This is who she is. Douglas is her dead name. ALLIYA is a name that she has chosen. She has come into her own. She had a very conservative upbringing, and for the longest time, she felt like she couldn't be herself. And so this is a huge moment in her life. She shares that part of that empowerment and liberation that she's experiencing is thanks to SHAWN, that his love has set her free in this way. And you can see when she's talking about him how her eyes light up, and they've been together for 3 years. And I mean, this trip is kind of make or break to see if they're going to grow together. We finally see when SHAWN does arrive to Brazil, and their welcome was so emotional, so sweet. ALLIYA brought flowers, and it was just so beautiful. And so they are renting an apartment because ALLIYA currently lives with her grandparents who do not accept her or her relationship. And so they have like this beautiful apartment by the beach. And, you know, SHAWN may have his feelings about this transition, but let me tell you something. He opens up the luggage and it's full of hair, and you can see ALLIYA's eyes light up like it's Christmas morning.
I'm going to show you all the goods. Okay.
I see.
I have the love of the hair, so it's going to be fun making you all the different versions of you.
Yeah.
Nice hair.
I have hair for
Nice
forever now.
hair.
Oh my god.
Red hair.
It means so much that Sean bought me all this hair.
Oh god, I can swim here.
I'm feeling like a queen. I'm feeling very special.
That's a huge sign of love. You know, even if he has a little bit of discomfort, he wants her to continue to express herself. And this is just so validating and supportive. And so I did have a thought when I was watching this scene because there's obviously so much love between them. Like, it's undeniable. I was like, you know what? If they don't make it as a couple, I think that there's so much love here that they could be friends. I think that it could happen. Obviously, that's not what they want in this moment, but I think that they would be able to make it work as friends too. There's just so much tenderness, you know? But now, as much as I love their bond, I'm struggling with watching SHAWN struggling and making it ALLIYA's problem. Like the way that he talks about it, we saw them at dinner, and he's like, you know, my friend, her name is Gladys. And then one day she's like, she wants us to call her Gigi. And it's like, Gigi, I don't know her. And I'm like, you can't compare a nickname to someone's identity change. Like the stakes are different. And you can see that ALLIYA's a little peeved by it, still keeping it cute and still, you know, trying to assert herself that like, this is who I am. And also, I want to make changes to affirm what I want to look like, who I feel inside. And SHAWN, he's just so uncomfortable because he is in denial. Because she's like, yeah, I want to suck fat from here. It basically sounds like she wants a BBL. And she talks about the shape that she wants. And he's like, oh, well, that's going to look more feminine. And ALLIYA's like, Yeah, that's the point. And so he's clearly in denial, and Aaliyah's doing such a good job at setting her boundaries in a very nice, loving way. But that's gonna get old fast. Like, the last thing you want to do is to have to constantly defend yourself with someone that's supposed to see you and love you. So that's definitely gonna be a problem. And also, this scene was upsetting because I was like, the whole point of this trip is for you to meet Aaliyah and see if you connect. But if you're constantly mourning the person that you knew, you're not going to get to know the person that's in front of you. So you're kind of wasting time. You're supposed to be experiencing each other. So I hope he gets that together soon, because I don't know how many episodes Love in Paradise has and time is ticking. Yeah, I mean, you can't prevent what is already happening. This is Aaliyah. Hello, welcome. And those feelings continue to resurface for SHAWN when they go shopping. Um, and again, Aaliyah's like, this is who I am. I'm excited to shop for the first time ever, to adorn this frame, to adorn this aesthetic. And so they go shopping, and she's coming out in these form-fitting things, and SHAWN is just like annoyed. But he's also annoyed because of the gender roles of it all. So he was married to a woman for a long time. And he says that after that divorce, he has actively been dating men. And, for men, you're not waiting around while your partner tries on clothes. And so as Aaliyah's doing that, he's like, oh, I'm remembering what this felt like and why I did not choose it. And I get what he's saying, but I don't like the way he's saying it. And there's another layer to it that I'm looking at SHAWN. This was in episode 3. I'm looking at SHAWN sideways. Because he says, I liked Douglas so much because he was shy and introverted and unsure. And that's when the red flags were just, waving for me. I'm sorry, but I have to. I find it super problematic that this older man, he's in his 60s, right? He is 61. I find it super problematic when he's like, I liked when my 20-something-year-old partner didn't have a self-esteem, didn't really say much. We had peace then. Now they're too empowered for my liking. That doesn't sound problematic to you? Yeah. Because that sounds off to me. So that's it on them for now. I hope SHAWN doesn't piss me off because Aaliyah deserves better. So the next couple is Luke, 30 years old, and Madeleine, 19, from Colombia. So we're introduced to this teenager because that's what she is. And automatically I'm like, what is going on? What could you possibly have in common? And then we immediately find out. She's like, he has a bunch of money and he spoils me. I live like a queen. And that she does, because then they show us her luxurious apartment, her rare dog, her massive collection of clothes. And I'm like, oh, he's buying her. And she also shows us her boob job. All of this is funded by Luke. Meanwhile, we go to America and Luke is hanging on by a thread, okay? He's looking like a clown. Like, I never expected a mining engineer to look like this. I don't know what I expected, but it wasn't that. Also, I can't imagine tattooing a 19-year-old's name to my body unless they're my child. So, again, creepy. And so his plan was to move to Colombia, to move with his teenage bride. But he's found that he cannot move to support her lifestyle and his absurd lifestyle. He didn't save for a rainy day. He got fired from his great paying job because he was taking too many days off to fly to Colombia. I don't feel bad for him. I don't. So he's liquidating his entire 401k to fund his many businesses and his teenage bride's businesses and lifestyle. And he hasn't told her. He hasn't told her a thing. So we see him talking to his friend, and his friend is like, she sounds like she's a leech, like she's just sucking you dry. Because he's in this fraudulent relationship, and he's like, I hope that she still loves me when I tell her that I can't support us. And the answer is no. You're getting played. A blind person could tell you what this is and what this isn't. I'm very sorry, but this is embarrassing. And so on top of not being able to be her sugar daddy, he's also not going to be able to move as he promised because his life is in shambles and he has to figure it out. My prediction is that she's going to be like, yeah, it's fine while he's there. And I think she's going to break up with him a few months after. So we see him off to the airport and he's still keeping up appearances with his look. Even though in his words, he's like, I live in my mom's basement and I have nothing to my name. And again, I want to bring to the table that this man is engaged to a teenager. And I don't know if it's because she's overwhelmed with emotion or she just hates him. But when they see each other, aside from having that nasty makeout, she keeps banging him with balloons, like in an aggressive way.
The dead.
So in the latest episode, we find out that he has funded her beauty business. And so she goes to show him his investment. Immediately, he pulls up. And in the marquee, the word beauty is all misspelled. And I'm like, this is in Colombia. One, if you wanted it in English, why not get Luke to spell check? Or spell check with the internet? But two, again, you're in Colombia, you could have just put belleza, and that's a word that everyone would have understood. Now she has the misspelled beauty in the marquee, on the walls, in the business cards. It's embarrassing. But again, a 19-year-old owns this business. There's just so much that is wrong with this picture. And so, again, Luke has no money right now. And so he starts, trying to scrunch up numbers of how the business is doing, when they'll be able to, make some profit. And the answer is no, they haven't made any yet. And so he's asking these very specific questions. And she is getting so annoyed because she's like, I hate when you ask me things like this. I'm the one that's working so hard. And I'm like, it's just a painful conversation because she's obviously viewing this as a personal attack when it's just business. And, he's like, listen, I'm asking you these questions because I lost my job. So this money talk is kind of important. And she's like, that's bullshit. What do you mean you lost your job? Why didn't you tell me? And he's like, I wanted to tell you in person. And the whole time she's having a tantrum. She's rolling her eyes. She's looking up at the ceiling. She's pouting. She's holding her breath. It's a tantrum. I get that she's upset that he didn't communicate this with her sooner. But at this point, y'all are running out of money fast. Y'all need to lock in, okay? And so eventually she does calm down and she's like, we're a team and I know that he's a provider and that he will figure this out. And before we know it, they start making out and head to the apartment. And again, she's a teenager. So seeing her in lingerie on camera like this for a 30-year-old man, I didn't need to see it. So I just find it interesting that he hasn't told her yet that he's not going to be able to move. It was an interesting manipulative choice of him not to tell her that first day, but he wanted to get it in. And so that's what he got. So unfortunately, we'll be seeing more of them later. And that's it for them in this video. The next and final couple is Alex, 30, and Adriano, 33, from Italy. So, Alex is from Texas, Adriano is from Italy. She's a therapist and describes her job as intense, and she looks for relief in family time and in solo travel. And in one of those solo travels, she was a little too adventurous and signed up for a dating app, and that is how she met Adriano. So she describes him as a walking fantasy, and he is. But they've only spent 10 days together in the year of their relationship. So just 10 days. And you guys, this is proof that even smart girls get swindled. Because what is she doing here? So the big conflict with their relationship is that he wants threesomes and he is adamant about it. She is not about it. She said that she used her 20s as the time to explore sexually, and right now she wants to settle down. And so apparently he's been bringing this up a lot, to the point that it's incessant, and he has broken up with her twice over this. So every time they break up, it's because he wants to go ahead and have some experiences with other women, and then he gets back claiming that he's gonna be done talking about it, only to continue asking her about threesomes in hopes of breaking her down. So they break up, get back together, and he sings the same tune. And she's been playing along because he's this fantasy for her, you know? I mean, aside from lust, I don't see why she's here, but she's here. We meet Adriano. And so he says that he didn't intend on getting into something serious. But when he met Alex, there was just this pull, this connection. And so there's a moment that we see him with his friend getting a haircut. And in their conversation, it affirms what I already believed, that this is all carnal. This is all lust. They had some really good sexual experiences together, and they're trying to make a relationship out of it, and they're forcing it. I think they probably had a passionate 10 days, but that a relationship does not make. And so he tells his bestie, you know, she's great and I could really see a life with her, but she's really against threesomes. She seemed really into it in the beginning, and I'm like, is this a joke? The way that he's talking about threesomes, it's like he needs it like the air to breathe. I have never heard of someone speak of threesomes in this way. So his friend is like, why settle for someone that you just met? If you know that threesomes are very important to you, why not just find someone that aligns with that? And I agree with that. Why force it with someone that it doesn't come naturally? So he's like, you know, I really connect with Alex, and I'm just hoping that she comes around to it. And I'm gonna tell you right now, she's not, okay? And then we see Alex with her, Alex is on her way to meet up with Adriano, and she shares that she, you know, she really wants marriage, she wants kids, and she sees all that with Adriano. But every time he brings up threesomes, it like crushes her. It's so disappointing. But when they say hello, it's really touching, really affectionate, really loving. He brought her flowers. It's very romantic. And in this moment, they looked happy. Then we see them on their way to dinner, and they're talking about, it sounds like he's about to move to Australia. He really likes it there. He says that it's more open in terms of mindset. He feels like there's a lot of career promise for him there. And he wants Alex to move there with him. She is not too sure about that because she's like, Australia is not the easiest place to get to if I need to go back home to see my family. And I don't feel safe, basically. She's, in many words, she was like, I don't feel like you have my back. I don't feel safe in this relationship. How do I know that when we get to Australia, you're not just going to leave me for someone that wants threesomes like you? Like, and he's like, I wouldn't do that. He tries to deny it, and she's like, no, you did. You left me twice because of this. So he says that his interest in Alex initially was piqued because she mentioned that she liked threesomes, that she was into it. And I think that she might have mentioned it as, you know, sometimes we just be talking. We want to seem exotic and interesting and adventurous. And I think that might have, you know, that might have slid with someone that was just a hookup. But out of all people, you've met a person that's all that they can think of, you know? So she kind of put her foot in her mouth because now she either has to deal with it or get out. And so she tells him, she's like, what is more important to you, this or having me? And he's like, both. And she's like, you can't have both. And he's like, well, I'm going to keep asking. And she's like, can you please not? Can you please stop doing that? And he's not. And instead of continuing to address it, they're like, you know what? let's put all of this in the back burner for night one. And it's very clear that they're like, we're gonna forget our troubles and have steamy schmecks for our first night. But this is just gonna keep coming up, and I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't know if I'll be able to cover this couple too much because I think I've reached my quota of the word threesome. I just can't handle another episode where they talk about threesomes like they're the vitamins that he needs to live. It's ridiculous. I need to know what you guys think about these couples. Is there anyone in particular that you're rooting for? Is there something that you're looking forward to seeing? I don't think I'm rooting for anyone. At first, I thought that I would be rooting for SHAWN and ALLIYA, but I honestly feel like if SHAWN is going to keep mourning Douglas in front of ALLIYA, you need to let ALLIYA, you need to set her free. You've lived a lot of life. You're 61 years old. ALLIYA's life is just beginning. I just don't think that it's fair to have to deal with this. But yeah, if I were to be rooting for anyone, it would be them, but I'm actually rooting for them individually. Yeah, that's where I'm at with them. I will definitely be recapping these now up to date. I just needed to get this video out to you guys so you can know what I'm thinking. It's a lot. Love in hell, okay? But yeah, I look forward to seeing what you guys think about it. If you aren't subscribed, do subscribe because I post videos weekly. I'll be posting about this, but also about 90 Day Fiancé. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.